How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Chaos Child. It's been a few days since I've recorded. Decided to take a little breather from the game, as I did not take a breather like I had wanted to after I finished the common route. That's how into this game I've been. But I took a few days away, and now I'm ready to get back into it here with Arimura's route, or Hinaya's route, whatever you want to call her. There was a comment on the last episode. Somebody was asking, why I'm calling her Arimura still, while at this point we should probably be calling her by the first name. And I'm just used to Arimura. I mean, it took me an unreasonable amount of time to learn how to somewhat say her name correctly, her last name. So I'll try to go on a first name basis for characters, but they'll probably fail. And that's not an issue with this in particular. Just wanted to warn you guys, I'm really bad at trying to utilize first names over last names if last names are what was cemented into my mind beforehand. That is my problem, and I apologize. But anyways, in the last episode, we went on a date with Arimura, or Hinaya, whatever you want to call her, and it was pretty chill. I mean, this game pretty much turned into a slice of life anime. Everything was totally fine, but it ended, unfortunately, not well. Well, I mean, the date ended perfectly fine, but the day did not end well, I'm assuming, as she was, like, mugged or something. Or maybe not mugged, but she was attacked. Something happened, but I don't know exactly what. But anyways, let's, get our one glimpse of the past per episode deal going on here.
あらあら、今日はひなちゃんの好きなものばかりなのに。
どうしたんだよ、ひな。調子でも悪いのか？
大丈夫。いただきます。
わかった。さては好きな男の子でもできたのね。
何？それは本当か？
ほら、そういう時って食べ物も喉を通らなくなったりするじゃない？
ひな。そいつはどんなやつなんだ？ちゃんとした男か？家は父親の仕事は？
もうあなたったら、それじゃあまるで結婚相手みたいじゃないの。そういうんじゃないわよ。
This is why I could never become a father. I would freak out over everything.
そうか。すまん。お父さん思わず慌ててしまって。
やだわ。でもひなちゃんもいつか素敵な人と出会えるといいわね。私があなたに出会ったみたいに。
ああ、そうだな。
Mom and Dad were smiling gently like always. Nothing had changed. But Hinaya knew now that it was all a lie. She found something out. It was only by chance that she'd found out. On her way back from a school trip, the bus had been stopped at a light. She'd looked out the window and seen someone who looked like her mom. At first, she thought she must be mistaken. She had to be wrong, because the woman that looked like her mom was walking down the street, arm in arm with a young man. Ah, I see where this is going, and it's not in a good direction. She looked again and again to make sure that she was wrong. But the more she looked, the more certain she became that she was right. Hinaya wasn't young enough anymore to know or to not know what that meant. She wasn't sure if she should tell her dad. If Mom was lying to Dad, if Dad was smiling while she lied to him, then that was just horrible for him. But she was wrong. That crack is still not a good sign. Dad was cheating too. Of course he was. Of course.
お兄ちゃん、話したいことがあるの。
ひな、どうした？
Hinaya was still too young to keep her parents' problems to herself. The only person she could rely on was her big brother Shingo. She told her brother everything. About Mom, about Dad, about the horny rats in the basement. Of course he'd be shocked. At least, that's what she thought. So she was totally surprised by his next words.
そうか。お前も知っちゃったのか。
Aw, man. Oh man, that's not good. Oh hey, it's the same cracked effect that they have on that one screen in the main menu. Her brother knew. Her brother was the one who taught her not to lie, excuse me, but he'd been lying to her too. It felt like a terrible betrayal to her. Everyone was lying. Everything around her was built on a lie. Hinae wanted the truth. But what was the truth? She was too young to know. But there was one thing she did know. Her brother had been hurt too. He'd been suffering alone, keeping a secret that he couldn't share with anyone. From that day on, the only truth she had was her bond with her brother. They were siblings sharing the same pain. That bond was what kept her going. Hinae became even more dependent on her brother, and her brother responded by coming to love her even more. When Hinae was just a year or two from graduating elementary school, her brother said to her,
高校を出たら家を出る。だから、ひなも一緒に行こう。
From that day on, those words were what kept Hinae going. Her bond with her brother and her hopes of escaping her parents' lies. And that became her new future, her truth. But 6 years ago, on that day that dream was destroyed, there was a dazzling light and a great shaking, and she found herself buried in the rubble. Alrighty. That sucks. By the time the week was over, the return of the new generation madness was forgotten, and everyone was talking about some counterfeit food labeling that had happened last week. The criminals had taken advantage of the computer problems caused by the crash of 15, which made it a hot topic. Of course, that channel was still talking about it, but it had started to die down. In fact, since the media hadn't reported anything about her, the message board had a new set of theories about Hidoriko, and that was mostly what they were talking about now. Time passed whether we wanted it to or not, and we students still had to go to school. Unless there's a pandemic going on. Then you're in the clear.
Oh, Miyashiro! よっ。
なんだ、人か。
なんだとは、朝から随分とご挨拶じゃねえか。つうか、さっきから何やってんだ？こんなところで。
何って、学校に来たらここを取るのは当然だろ。当たり前のこと言うなよ。
そうか？それにしてはさっきからここでキョロキョロしてたじゃんか。誰か待ってでもいんのかと思ってさ。
I hadn't even been thinking about Ito, but I didn't notice him until he'd spoken to me. If I'd have seen him, excuse me, I would have gone into the school building.
で、誰を待ってんだ？
それは、ほら、お前を待ってたんだよ。
俺を？もしかして例の事件で何か進展があったのか？
いや、そういうわけじゃないけど。
じゃあなんで？有村だ。
え？
I turned around and saw Arimura right behind me.
よう、有村。
Well, she looks a little glum.
伊藤先輩。
有村、チャオス。
どうも、宮代先輩。
I'd raised my hand like an idiot. The morning autumn wind felt cold against it. Huh? I'd forced myself to match her greeting. Why was she being so cold?
お前、どうしたんだその手。
I looked at her hand and saw that there was a bandage wrapped around it just under her sleeve.
これはちょっと階段でつまずいちゃって。
Uh-huh. I looked closer and saw that she was concealing some purple bruises with foundation.
それじゃあ私はこれで。
So much for being truthful. Arimura seemed a little out of it as she said goodbye and headed into the school building.
なんだよ、相変わらず愛想ねえな。
Well, something definitely happened.
と、それより話ってなんだ？
は？
だから、なんか話があって待ってたんだろ？
僕がこんなところでわざわざ伊藤を待つわけないだろ。
は？なんだそれ。
ほら、それより早く行かないとチャイム鳴るぞ。
なんなんだよ、一体。
It's obvious who we were waiting for here. That was my question. She'd been smiling when I said goodbye yesterday, and now she was acting like this. In my head.
遅いな、有村。うわ、なんだ？
誰だ？
この声は有村だな。
なんでわかっちゃうんですか？つまんない。
そりゃわかるだろ。
そっか、わかっちゃうのか。
有村。
そうだ先輩、チャオッス。
チャオス。
Uh-huh. He's been reading more of that Cool Cat Press. That's how it was supposed to go. Nothing negative was supposed to happen. And instead she acted like that.
女子ってわからないな。
I almost leaped up when I heard a sudden yell.
どうしたのタクル？
なんだクールスか。驚かすなよ。
驚いたのはこっちよ。あなた今なんて言ったの？
Oh no, I must have been talking to myself. It happens.
いや、今のは何でも。
あ、いたいた、タク。
I felt a bad premonition. Serika's timing was a little too perfect.
おっと、そうだ。ちょっと用事が。
ねえねえ、昨日ひなちゃんとデートしたんだって？デート？ひなちゃんってもしかして有村さんのこと？タクル、あなた有村さんとデートしたの？
No, that didn't happen. Crap, now I had a real problem. No, forget that.
なんでそのことを尾上が知ってるんだ？
それはだって見たんだもん。
見たって一緒にいるところをか？
うん。待ちなさいタクル。ということは本当に有村さんとデートしたのね。
デートっていうか一緒に出かけただけだよ。
だからそれってデートでしょ？
This was awkward. Even if we weren't related by blood, who knew? Who knew that having your family find out about your dating life would feel so awkward?
それでどうだったの？どんな服で行ったの？どこへ行ったの？何をしたの？うまくいったの？
I don't like these excessive questions.
どうのんちゃん、落ち着いて落ち着いて。だってあのタクルが女の子とデートよ。姉としては気になるじゃない。第一、それってあんな陰惨なニュースを追っているよりも全然いいことよ。セリカもそう思わない？私はタクがそれでいいなら。
I mean, it's what the plot has given us. What was going on here? I knew that girls like to talk about romance, but I didn't think they'd like to talk about it this much.
それでタクル、どうなの？
どうって別にちょっと遊びに行っただけだし。
ちょっとってダメよ、そんな適当な態度じゃ有村さんにも失礼じゃない。
Neither Serika nor I were sure how to handle Kudasu's excitement. And then suddenly she spun around.
ああ、そうだ。こうしちゃいられないわ。
クルス、どこ行くつもりだ？
決まってるでしょ。有村さんのところよ。弟をよろしくってきちんと挨拶しておかなきゃ。
ちょっと待って。いくらなんでもそれ早まりすぎだ。
そうだよのんちゃん、そういうのはちゃんと日取りを選んでやんなきゃ。
And that's not right either.
とにかく有村とはスマホを買いに行くついでにちょっと一緒にブラブラしただけなんだよ。
本当に？
本当だって。だから変な気を回したりとか頼むからやめてくれ。
そう。
Why did she look so disappointed?
ってい
It
う
was like
か
a
のん
roller
ちゃん、
coaster of trying to
な
figure
ん
out
で
what the
そ
hell's
んな
going
に必死
on.
なの？だってそういう楽しいことがあればタクルだってもう変な事件を追いかけたりしなくなるかもしれないでしょ。
なんだ、そんな理由か。
もちろんそれだけじゃないわ。もっとちゃんとした理由があるわよ。ちゃんとした理由って？それはほら、有村さんも私たちと似たような境遇だから。
似たようなってどういうことだ？
知らないの？彼女ご両親はご健在らしいんだけどね、住んでいたお部屋が渋谷地震で倒壊して、それでお兄さんが。
Her brother, the one that was friends with Kakita?
今はご両親とも東京から少し離れてしまって、彼女自身は近くの親戚のお家から通っているらしいんだけどね。でも有村さんと同じ小学校だったって子に聞いたんだけど、彼女すごくお兄さん子だったらしくて、それで亡くなった後はずっと塞ぎ込んでいたそうだから。
I had no idea that Arimura had a past like that.
別に同情とかじゃないの。ただ彼女にも頑張ってほしいなって。だから。
She suddenly grabbed me by the hands and looked straight into my eyes.
もしも何か相談があったらいつでも言うのよ。わかった？
うん。
Her demeanor was so overwhelming that I almost took a step back.
それからくれぐれもまたあの事件を追いかけたりなんてしようと思わないこと。いいわね。
わかったよ。
Not like there's much of a case to follow here. When I nodded, she smiled, satisfied, and finally left to go to class.
のんちゃんびっくりだね。
そもそもはお前が余計なこと言うからだろ。
あれ？そうだっけ？
Yes, it is.
そうだよ。
でもタク、本当にひなちゃんとは何にもないの？
ないよ、そんなの。
タク？
At least not from what I'd seen this morning. Something's up, that's for sure. That's right. It was stupid to get so excited just because I'd gone to hang out with a girl. We'd just gone shopping together. If I got excited and started obsessing over dating and girlfriends, I'd be no different than half the idiots in this school. I wasn't like those wrong-siders who spend every minute of the day thinking of girls. I spent most of my day gathering information. And I felt bad for Kirisu, but I was starting to get a little bored with this situation. Excuse me, everybody seemed to think that the arrest of Haida Riko meant the case was winding down, but I couldn't be sure that it was over. If Haida was responsible for all the murders, then why did she have to kill all those people? Was it just because they were psychics? Or was she working for some organization? And how had she killed them? Why didn't she use her pyrokinesis? There were still tons of questions. I didn't have time to obsess over every little thing some girl did. We must consider information, which meant that I had work to do. I had to go over the case again. If I was the head of a journalism club, I needed to act like a journalist. Right. I opened the door to the club room, ready to get started.
あ、チャオッス先輩。
Well, her mood definitely fucking changed.
有村、どうしてここに？
決まってるじゃないですか。先輩を待ってたんですよ。ここに来れば会えるかなって。
僕に会いに？
はい。
そう。
No, no. I just told myself that I didn't have time to waste on girls.
今朝はごめんなさい。ちょっと考え事してたせいでそっけなかったですよね。
そんなこと。
No, there was no point in lying to Arimura.
まあ少しな。
そうですよね。でもちょっと理由があって。
理由？
言いましたよね。怪我したって。
Arimura rubbed the skin just above her knees and winced a little. I could still see a bandage under her sleeve. It didn't look that bad, but maybe she was worse off than she looked.
階段でつまずいたんだっけ？大丈夫なんだよな。
はい。怪我自体はそんなに大したことはないんですけど、ただ誰かに押されたような気がしてて。
押されたって、突き落とされたってことか？誰に？
Ah, so that's what happened.
いや、あくまでも気がしたって感じで、だからはっきりそうとは言えないんですけど、でもちょっと気になってて、それで朝は上の空になってたんです。だからごめんなさい。
それで突き落とされた後は特に襲われたりとかしてないのか？
はい、転んで階段から落ちて見上げたら誰もいなくて。
そっか。
If someone did push her, then who? Could it have something to do with the case? But compared to the other cases, that would be pretty sloppy. Was it just chance then? Or maybe she'd been mistaken.
それじゃあ私はこれで。
Arimura picked up her bag and started to walk to the door.
もう帰るのか？
はい。とにかく朝のこと一言謝りたかっただけですから。
そっか。
先輩がいいって言うなら、もう少しいてもいいかななんて。
I'm down with that.
ダメですか？
I mean, I'm hooked. Let's just get the fucking romance going on with this slice of life anime.
けど。
本当ですか？よかった。
Chaos Child truly is my favorite slice of life rom-com, full of drama too. I started to feel awkward, but it wasn't a bad awkward. Guess we should go with positive to continue following the guide. It wasn't that bad at all. It was kind of nice.
そうだ、怪我大したことないって言ってたけど、本当か？
はい、大丈夫ですよ。ほら、この通り。
Arimura lifted up her skirt to show me. Oh, here we go. There had to be some horniness involved. I saw.
本当は前から言おうと思ってたんですけど、私実は男の子なんです。
You know, ever since we got done with the common route, these delusions that either I missed or I am now coming across due to the new routes have just been interesting, to say the least. I'm starting to wonder what is really going through Takuru's mind. I was stunned. I didn't expect to see a bulge underneath Arimura's skirt.
でも心は女の子なんです。信じてください。
いやまあこんなもの見せられたら信じるしか。
やっぱり思った通りだ。宮代先輩って優しい。
そうか。
はい。 Miyashiro 先輩。
Arimura looked straight into my eyes. She was a girl no matter how you looked at her. But her body...
何？
こんな僕でよければ恋人にしてください。
I looked closely and saw that her shoulders were shaking. It had probably taken all of her courage to say that. And I said...
先輩。
むしろ望むところだ。まさにドンピシャ。君こそ僕の求めていた理想の恋人だ、有村。
本当ですか？
本当だ。
ひなえ、嬉しい。
I'm not. Arimura leapt forward and grabbed me. Her body was a little more muscled than I'd expected, but it felt great. And...
有村。
はい。
当たってる。
Oh no, dude.
当ててるんです。
No! 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 No. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. What was I thinking? I'm not into that. When I came back to my senses, I was looking straight at Arimura's healthy thighs.
もう先輩ったらあんまり見ちゃダメですよ。
I knew that I should probably look away, but my instincts overcame my reason.
そんなこと言ったって。
I didn't want you guys to get the wrong idea back there. I'm totally okay with trans people, but that was going a little bit in a different direction than I really was comfortable with. Suddenly the door opened without warning.
Huh?
Uh-oh. Everything froze for a moment. Kazuki appeared for just a moment before she vanished. A moment later, I heard a furious pounding on the walls.
違うだ、カズキ。
そうなの、花。今のは違うの。だから違うんだってば。
Damn, this really is a slice of life now. October 22nd. 4 days had passed since someone had pushed Arimura down the stairs. Nothing else had changed for her since then. How were things between us? Well, maybe not too bad. Probably. And tomorrow was the 23rd, the day of the brain-dead incident 6 years ago. I'd spent the whole day online looking for new information and found something interesting. It was the news that the burnt headless body of a man had been found. Oh?
本当に行くんですか？
嫌なら無理に付き合ってくれとは言わないけど。
A burnt headless man? I'm trying to remember those that were left around this time in the original story. Arimura's expression was clouded, but she shook her head. But wait, it's not a New Generation Madness Day. I'm confused. What's happening? After school that day, we'd gone to visit none other, than Kunasado. I wasn't very happy about the idea, but it was the best way to find out about the news I'd seen this morning. Of course, Detective Shinjo probably knew more about the case. But he worked for the police. Even if we'd been attacked by Haida earlier, he probably wouldn't be willing to give us the latest information. But Kunasado had built up a relationship of trust with the police. And it looked to me that between the two, she had the upper hand in her relationship with Shinjo. Which meant that she might know something.
じゃあ行くけど、本当にいいのか?
I asked Arimura one last time before we went inside.
だってここ女の人の部屋ですよ。宮代先輩、そんなところに一人で行くつもりですか？
確かに女子が一緒の方が話は聞いてくれるだろうけどさ。
I didn't really like her either, and honestly, I didn't want to rely on her help. But I had no choice if I wanted that information. And I wasn't really relying on her help. I was using her.
私が言ってるのはそういうことじゃなくて。
じゃあどういうことだ？
だからいいです。なんでもないです。
Told you guys this was a slice of life.
部屋の場所知らないんじゃないのか
Arimura stormed ahead of me angrily. I followed after her into the apartment building.
誰だ？
僕です。宮代拓。
入れ。
Kunasado let us in much easier than I thought she would. I had been worried she'd turn us away at the door, but I guess I'd been wrong.
散らかっているが気にするな。
Well, we didn't last time. Her room was still in terrible shape. I could see the Shibuya news screen on her PC. She looked like she was editing something.
例の焼死体のことだな。
That's a interesting outfit. Kunasado spoke before we even had a chance.
どうしてそれを？
ギガロマニアックスのお二人がわざわざこんな手狭なところにいらっしゃってくださったんだ。他に考えられる心当たりはない。
相変わらず嫌味な人。
ご想像の通り、昨夜の焼死体について何か情報はないかと思って来たんです。
There was no point in pissing her off if it meant we didn't get the information we needed. I quickly moved between them. This wasn't really something I was good at, but I didn't have a choice.
どこまで知っている？
その一通り情報として出ていることは。
The location was a multi-purpose building in Hatsudai. The victim was a man between his mid-30s and late 50s. He'd been burnt so badly his body had turned to ash, and the police had no idea who he was. They were working to ID him. That much had been announced this morning. I'd looked back over it just in case before I came here, and nothing new had come out.
ならば、それが全てだ。それ以上のことは一切分かっていない。
それは箝口令が敷かれているってことですか？
いや、警察の方でもまだつかめていないようだ。どうやら先月の太陽嵐の影響でまたシステムが不安定になっているのだそうだ。被害者が渋谷以外の人間の場合、紹介も一苦労らしい。システムにばかり頼りすぎるとこういうことになるという見本のようなものだな。
Since Arimura hadn't spoken up, what Kunasado had said was probably true.
それで久里さんはこの事件どう見ます？
それはニュージェネの再来と関係があるかどうか聞いているのか？
まあそういうことです。
私にはその質問に答える義務はない。
I figured. I thought she might say that, so I didn't feel surprised or disappointed. But surprisingly, she asked me something instead.
お前はどう思っている？
僕ですか？
お前もこれまでの事件を追ってきたのだろう。それならば一応の考えはあるはずだ。そいつを聞かせてみろ。
I hated to tell her just because she asked me, but there was no point in arguing. I decided to just tell her what I thought.
この事件にはこれまでのものと比べていくつかの相違点があります。まずは場所。
All the other incidents had taken place in Shibuya proper. Hatsudai was a part of the Shibuya ward, but most people considered it a part of Shinjuku.
それから年齢の問題。
All the previous victims had been in their teens or early 20s. This time, the victim was middle-aged. He was closer to Dad's generation than ours.
つまりこれまでの事件とは無関係だということか？
そう考えていいんじゃないかと。
The fact that the body had been burnt to death made me think of Haida Riko. But Haida was in police custody right now. She couldn't be responsible. And today was the 22nd. It was one day too early for the brain-dead case. Okay. Got
そこ
confirmation
まで
on
結
that.
論が出ているのならわざわざ私に聞く必要もないだろう。
じゃあ
そもそも今のところ30代以上でのギガロマニアックス発症例はない。ということは少なくとも被害者はギガロマニアックスではないということだ。
In other words,
偶然か便乗かいずれにしてもこれまでの事件とは無関係だろうな。
とりあえず関係ないってのは一安心だな。
嘘。
え？
先輩、本当はもう少し事件が続いてくれてもよかったのにって思ってるじゃないですか。
I hadn't realized it, but if Arimura said so, then maybe I did. Maybe I wanted something to happen to break the boredom. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
私はまだ安心できません。だって。
Arimura squirmed uneasily. It made sense. Just the other day, someone might have pushed her down the stairs.
ごめん、そんなつもりじゃなかった。
いえ、私の方こそちょっと過敏になってるのかも。
送るよ。
ありがとうございます。
Arimura held my hand the whole way back. Her hand felt tiny and very frail. Hell yeah, Takuru, you get that ass. The next day was the 23rd. That was the day of the brain-dead incident 6 years ago. Nothing interesting happened in Shibuya that day. Really? Holy shit, we advanced in time. November 6th, 2009, Friday. Arimura Hinae was in downtown Shibuya when it happened. Her brother's birthday was in a week. Oh wait, 2009. Sorry, I'm really stupid. Her brother's birthday was in a week. What should she get him for a present? She had taken the allowance she'd saved up over the last several months and gone into the city alone. Every year, she and her brother would both celebrate each other's birthdays, just the two of them. Hinae would give her brother a present, and he'd say thank you and give her something back, even though it wasn't her birthday. It always made her so happy. What should she get him this year? She wanted to get him something he would keep forever. Something he could wear would be best. Clothes were outside her budget, and gloves or a muffler would only be useful in winter. What about a wallet? Wallets are good. Also, sorry about misreading that date, or not misreading it, but misinterpreting. I didn't really catch the whole 2009 part. That was a giant mistake. But hey, at least we're getting another glimpse in the past, more than once in one episode. Wowzers. But yeah, it is really late into the night, and I also took a break between, or in the middle of this session, so your boy is definitely tired and will probably mess up. Just when she decided to go into a slightly grown-up department store, the huge earthquake struck Shibuya. It was the disaster they called the Shibuya earthquake. Hinae didn't really remember the moment it happened. 1 second, there was a bright light that flooded her field of vision, and the next second, everything had changed. The walls of the buildings had collapsed. The asphalt had split open, and here and there, she could hear people moaning in pain. It was like something out of a dream, or a nightmare. She didn't know what had happened. She quickly dialed her brother, but not only did he not pick up, she couldn't even hear it ring. Since she had nothing else to do, she decided to head for home. Only when she stood up did she realize that she'd been hurt all over. Her knees were cut open, she'd hit her back, she'd scraped the cheeks against the ground, or her cheeks against the ground, and all of Shibuya was in a panic. The buildings looked like they could fall down at any moment. A car had smashed into a store and was giving off black smoke. That's usually the bad form of smoke. Everyone in Shibuya was running to the station in search of a way out. It was hard for tiny little Hina to go against the crowd, and she was almost pushed down many times as she headed for home. She didn't honestly remember how long it took her to get back to the condo where she lived. She just remembered that she'd felt so tired. But when she saw her condo building, all that exhaustion vanished. The building hadn't collapsed, but it was tilting and it looked like it could fall over at any time. The people who'd escaped from inside were standing a good ways away and looking up at it. Some people tried to go inside to get their valuables, others tried to stop them. She saw her parents there. Maybe they'd happened to come home early, or maybe they'd raced over here after the earthquake. Either way, they were injured, but alright. But there was someone missing. She looked around and didn't see him. Her parents didn't answer, but she could tell where her brother was from where her mom was looking. The condo building was tilted and could fall over at any time, yes, we know. Who knew what was going on inside? Her father slowly shook his head. How do they know? She dodged past her father's outstretched hands and ran into the building. Of course, the elevator didn't work. She ran up the stairs, which were only barely still functional, and headed for her condo. All of the exhaustion she'd felt was totally gone. All she was thinking about was her brother. All she wanted was for him to be safe. Their condo was a disaster. There was no sign left of the life they'd lived. But that didn't matter to her. Now where are they going to have cake like every time we get a glimpse at the past? She screamed. Again and again. Damn. Our parents are like such liars, dude. She heard a small moan from under the rubble. She ran over and saw her brother. Aw, dude. Yo, that's not a good sight. He was alive. Her brother was alive. She swallowed her words. Yep, that was, heavy stuff. Her brother's body was half buried under rubble, and he couldn't move. Yeah, have fun with that. She tried to lift it off, but she was far too weak to even budge it. She tried so hard to move the rubble that her nails broke and blood began to drip from her fingers. But she still kept trying. Her mom and dad had betrayed her. The one bond she had, the one truth that she had was her brother. It was the one thing that kept her going. But she didn't know why her brother was suddenly apologizing. What? It was a sudden confession. What was he talking about? They weren't brother and sister. What did he mean? He kept talking even though Hina didn't understand what he was saying.
嘘。
Suddenly, the whole world went black.
ずっと言うべきじゃないって思ってた。隠しておくべきだって。お前が大きくなるまでは。でももう俺はだから
お兄ちゃん。
ごめんひな、ずっと隠していて。
It was a shock. She wasn't her mom and dad's daughter. Her brother wasn't her real brother. But the biggest shock to Hinae was that her brother had been lying to her. After all the times he told her not to lie, he'd said he wouldn't lie to her anymore. But he'd been concealing something so important. She couldn't believe it. It was a cry from her heart. I suppose that was her wish. And then, she saw something in the corner of her eye. It was twisted and beautiful. It was like some kind of enchanting creature, but cold like something inorganic. Something like a sword.
ごめんひな、でもこれは本当のことなんだ。
Suddenly she knew he was telling the truth. It wasn't just intuition. She knew. She knew somehow. For some reason she knew that his words were true. As she stood there in shock, suddenly she was knocked backward and almost fell to her feet.
ここは危ない。行けひな。
お兄ちゃん。
頼む。お前だけは生きてくれ。
There was truth in his cry. She staggered back just as the roof in front of her fell in. The dust rose up so thick she couldn't see her brother anymore. Those were the last words she ever heard him say. Well. Goddamn. October 26th, 2015, Monday.
ねえ、聞いた？
聞いた。あれって D 組の子でしょ？
Oh no, dude.
私、1年の時同じクラスだったんだけど。
The whole school was talking about a new incident that had taken place.
もうみんな知ってると思うが、新たな事件が起きた。しかも被害者は碧峰学園の2年生女子、つまりこの学校の生徒だ。
Because of that, we'd had an emergency assembly this morning. The school staff was busy dealing with the second big incident after the Watabe case, and most classes were study halls. They should have just made it a half day, but since the media were outside, they kept us in until the full day was over. It was only after school that we were able to have our meeting. Here's what we knew about the case. According to the police announcement, the murder took place sometime after 11 o'clock p.m. last night. Shibuya was always pretty busy, even at that hour, but the area where the murder took place was isolated and at times could be almost empty. The cause of death was blood loss. The victim had been stabbed multiple times with a sharp blade, and the area around her was said to be a sea of blood.
この事件、どう思う？
Wait, was that a Return of the New Generation Madness Day? Wasn't it supposed to be the 23rd? And now it's the 26th, so that would have taken place on the 25th. Like always, Ito was the first to answer.
どうってのは、これまで起きたニュージェネの再来と同じかどうかってことか？
もちろんそれも含めていろいろだよ。
関連があるかどうかって言われたら明らかに違うだろ
どうしてそう思うの？
どうしても何もそもそも起きた日が違う。それに明らかに手口も普通だ。猟奇性の面から見ても関連性があるとは思えん。
Kazuki was actually involved in the conversation for once. She nodded in agreement, but Kutasu shook her head.
何言ってるの。刃物でめった刺しなんてそれだけで十分猟奇的じゃない。
いや、そりゃそうだけど、俺が言いたいのはつまりこう方向性みたいな、犯罪の醸し出す色っつうか雰囲気っつうか、要するに不可解なところがないってこと。
確かに手を切って食べたとか、お腹の中にスピーカーがとか、そういうのとは違うよね。
だろ？だからやっぱ関係ないんじゃねえの？
This is so fucked, dude. After everything we know, this is just so fucked. Evidently, everyone agreed with Ito's opinion.
宮代、お前はどうなんだよ。
僕も伊藤と同じ意見だ。残念ながらこれまでの事件とは無関係だと思う。
ちょっとタクル、残念ながらってどういうこと？
Crap, I'd accidentally said what I was thinking.
いい？あなたは狙われたのよ。下手をしたらあなたが面白がっているその被害者の人たちと同じようになっていたかもしれないのよ。わかってる？
わかってるよ。
Here we go again.
そもそも今回の被害者はこの学校の生徒なのよ。同じ学校で過ごしている女の子が亡くなったの。面白がっている場合じゃないでしょ。
だから何度も言わなくったって大丈夫だってそう言ってるだろ。
Why was Kutasu here at the newspaper club when a student from our school was dead anyway?
今私たちがするべきことは全校生徒に注意を促すための記事を書くこと。これは先生方からも頼まれた新聞部としての役目なの。
Oh yeah, you know the newspaper club that was told to shut down after the whole Watabe thing?
これはそのための会議なんだからそこを忘れないで。
Actually, technically it was before it.
わかってるってば。
それから
生徒会会長のクルスさん、至急生徒会室まで来てください。繰り返します。生徒会会長のクルスさん。
ほら呼んでるぞ。
それじゃあ行ってくるけど、くれぐれも今言ったこと忘れちゃダメだからね。
Yeah, yeah. Kitasu nagged me one more time before she ran out of the room.
のんちゃん、忙しいのにわざわざ来てくれたんだね。
それだけ宮代が信頼されてないってことだな。いや、逆に信頼されてるってことか？どっちだ？
どっちだっていいよ。それより話に戻るぞ。
Thanks to Kutasu's interruptions, I'd forgotten how much we'd covered. Right.
今回の被害者はうちの2年ってことだが、有村や尾上はこの被害者の子のことは知らなかったのか？
私は1年の時何度か言葉を交わした程度なら、学校休みがちな子だったみたいだし。私もよくは知らない。クラスの子の話だと学校サボって遊び回ってるって話だったけど。
Since the murder had taken place past 11 o'clock p.m., it wasn't hard to imagine.
でもちょっと怖いかも。事件のあったところって私も学校の行き帰りに通る道だし。
そうなのか？
うん、ほら言ったでしょ、この前の階段であの近くだから、ちょっと気味悪いかも。
Somebody had tried to push Arimura down the stairs. Given that it was near the scene of the murder, maybe it was just some sicko trying to kill little girls. Possibly.
まあ、やっぱ今回のは今までのとは関係ないってやつだよ。言い方は悪いが、遊び歩いてた女がたまたま変質者にやられたか、あるいは地上のもつれってところか。
いくらなんでもそれはないよ。だって高校生だよ。地上のもつれって言ったら男子と女子がゴニョゴニョなことでしょ。
小学生かよ。高校生にもなりゃ地上でもつれることだってあるだろ。
I don't think I got a lot out of that statement there. Now that I think about it. Hold on a second.
そうなの？世の中の高校生はそうなの？もつれちゃうの？ねえ、タク。
そりゃ子供じゃないんだし、そういうことだってあるんじゃないか。
そうなんだ。じゃあ花ちゃんももつれちゃったりするの
？She frantically denied it. Yeah, that wasn't gonna happen with Kazuki. Anyway, we were getting off track.
しかしまあ同じ学校のやつが殺されたってのは気持ちいいもんじゃねえよな。
A student from my school. In that sense, this victim was the one who had been closest to us. What did that mean?
すっかり遅くなっちゃいましたね。
Yeah, it is. It's 2:06 in the morning. So I'm gonna save it. I actually don't know how long this episode is because I split it in half-ish. Well, I'm at like 34 minutes right now in recording. I think the other one was around 25, so hopefully that's enough. Hopefully I met my mark. So, I'm not really trying to care too much about like the whole plot, but I am trying to like keep up with what is going on. So, the Return of the New Generation madness that was supposed to take place on the 23rd, did something happen? If so, what? And it sort of seems like something extra is going on, you know? Something happened to Arimura, and something more severe happened to another student at Hekiho. So something's going on. Not main plot related, but something that may connect here because now it's being brought up and all that. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what happens next time as we continue on. Anyways, I'm tired. Thank you guys for watching this episode. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and all that fancy jazz, and hopefully I get back onto the grind here with Chaos Child, get back into the groove. Now that I've taken a few days away from it, I'm ready to continue on. Or at least I hope. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.